Good morning, everyone. Happy Hump Day, Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Looking forward to Friday. I'm Justin Hillier. I'm the CEO and founder of Recruiter Insider, and I'm joined by three lovely panelists this morning, Jason, Ed, and Erin from their respective agencies. I'll get them introduce themselves in a second, but we're here today to talk about collaboration and networking in what is a really weird kind of world right now where we can't actually network like we used to face to face. We have to actually, I would imagine, do it like this. But the pubs are opening. Ryan's Bar is back up and running. So who knows? We might actually get to have a beer together one time soon. But we'll move around the screen, get our panelists to introduce ourselves, and then I'll hit them with all the hard questions about collaboration and networking. Jason, we'll kick off with you. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here?
Sure, I'm Jason. I'm Jason. I'm a legal recruiter. I run Elias Recruitment. We've got offices in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth. We hit our 20th anniversary last Tuesday, which was pretty cool.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I also volunteer in a couple of capacities. I'm the chair of the Regional Council for the RCSA for New South Wales and ACT. And I just was appointed the global chair of NPA Worldwide, which is the world's largest split recruitment network, which is the key to the collaboration that we're going to chat about a bit later.
Yep, definitely want to ask you more about that. Ed, who are you? I can see where you're from, nicely positioned.
I've made it very clear where I'm from, make sure I didn't miss that. I'm Ed from E4 Recruitment. We've been going for just over 8 years now, so we do healthcare and medical. So we're based in Sydney, just the one office. I'm certainly not a collaboration expert, but something that I've really tried to get into more and more over the years. So definitely keen to come in and have a chat about it today.
Excellent, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Erin, you're on mute again. There you are.
I'm back. Yes, I have background noise, small children running around, so I'm trying to keep it clear. So I am a co-founder of Firesoft People. So we do technology recruitment across Australia. We have teams globally now. We have a team in Bali and a couple of teams in the Philippines, and kind of a cool sort of background around that, but that's for another day. And ultimately, we are 8 years. We're on our 8th year in operation, and collaboration for me probably came on the scene, I would say, about 2 or 3 years ago. So for the first number of years in business, I was very in my own space, didn't do a ton of collaboration, didn't get involved too much in the industry as a whole, and the whole game has changed over the past 2 years, just in terms of doing that and the value that's given back.
And that's a nice segue to kick off the first question. Collaboration and networking has certainly changed in the last 3 months. No Ryan's Bar. What on earth do we do? Jason, tell me, what have you done over the last 3 months to keep your collaboration and networking, I guess, up to where it was before, but have you been able to find different ways to network and collaborate with your peers and everyone else in the industry?
Absolutely. And funnily enough, I was in New Orleans when the whole thing blew up, and I was over there and had to rush back to Australia. And as we boarded the plane in LA, we were handed a little notice that said when we got back to Sydney, we would be the first flight that would have to be quarantined in our own homes for 14 days. So there are a whole bunch of Aussies that were over at this conference, and it turned out that New Orleans ended up being one of the big COVID hotspots. So thankfully we all got home safely, but we were all locked in our own rooms, and my wife was a bit strict about it, and I wasn't allowed to leave the room except to go to the loo. So we formed a Facebook group called Club Quarantini, and we shared memes, and twice a week we had Zoom calls just to keep each other sane. The NPA has had COVID Thursdays, so every Thursday we get together on alternate Thursdays. The first week we have a speaker and discuss a particular topic like JobKeeper or whatever it may be. And the second week we just pull out some beer and wine and have a bit of a chin wag as if we would around a water cooler or a cocktail thing. And both those things have helped keep us sane.
Erin, you're part of a pretty unique network of collaborators and business owners. And certainly the last 3 months, I know your network group there love to catch up for a lunch and a wine or two. How has that actually? How have you been able to facilitate that over the last few months? Has it become more important to catch up, or have you just let it slide?
I love how you've just commented on the ladies who lunch.
I didn't name any names.
We got a lot of flack for that one, actually. That was quite funny. But ultimately, you have to have fun. You have to inject that into, the business proceedings, of course. And as recruiters, we know how to do that well. But ultimately, the incredible, who you actually had on the last webinar, Sinead Connolly from Lotus People, now going on a year and a half, if not 2 years, she decided that there was a lack of sort of formalized connections in the recruitment domain, and spearheaded what now has been growing and growing into a once monthly meetup with women recruitment owners. And the exclusivity around just being women, we'd be cool if men showed up as well. We often have men as our speakers, but ultimately it kind of developed out of that. And so we do that monthly, and we're doing probably even more connection now. We've been doing a lot more online stuff. Every month we do obviously do a Zoom meeting on a Thursday morning. We're now on the WhatsApp group quite often. We're leaving each other voice notes. It's been a really hard time. And I think as a business owner, with the kind of level of stress and pressure, and certainly the uncertainty, it's really helped to know that you have people who are behind you, who are in the same circumstance and can just be there, even if you're having a moment of complete, capitulation mentally as well.
So, Ed, but Jason and Aaron have actually mentioned an interesting point, technology. Jason's created a Facebook group and Aaron's mentioned WhatsApp. We can't do this face-to-face anymore. Have you been using technology over the last few months to keep collaboration up, not only within your team, but networking outside of the business as well with others in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of our own team, we've just going on to that. We have every single morning we do have like a Zoom meeting like this at 8:30. So we've heavily kept up with that. We've done all the things like quizzes and all those things to stay in touch regularly. With people outside of that, not so much in terms of technology. I think it's been just staying in touch over the phone. Like there's been a few other business owners that I've picked the phone up to a few times and just spoken to them.
You mean you've used this as a phone? Is that wow?
Yeah, once I remembered what it was for, I picked it up and had a go. Yeah, but yeah, staying in touch just the normal ways. And then there's a few email groups that go around that you just have a bit of a chat in through there. So technology-wise, not a massive amount, just the usual platforms really, but just trying to stay in touch with as many people as possible during this whole thing.
Yep. So you mentioned talking with other business owners and other directors. How, and you've, as you said at the start, you've been pushing yourself more into collaborating and networking with other people within the industry. What have you got out of that?
Oh, massive amounts. I mean, I think, well, when I started recruitment back in 2005, I know the owners of our recruitment company then, they were so anti-collaboration. It was so cloak and dagger, if you like. It was an absolute fear of other recruiters or business owners knowing anything about what you do. You just had to sort of hide, and you thought your clients were going to get stolen, your candidates were going to get stolen, and it just wasn't a nice way to be. And then over the years, I think once we started our own business, it was very clear that there's so many people out there. Well, there's always going to be another business owner or even a recruiter that sort of is further along in what they're doing. They've been through the ups and downs. There's always going to be someone that you can learn from, and hopefully you can help them as well in some way. So I think it quickly dawned on me, the more people I was in contact with, the better, because if you can get some advice from someone that's further along than you are, you could maybe avoid some of those mistakes that you would have made by hearing about people that have been through those mistakes and how you could best navigate it. So yeah, it's been massive for me to really try and speak to other people and learn as much as I can.
And that brings me to Jason, the NPA, cloak and dagger, and the fear of losing customers. You guys have taken a complete and utterly different approach to this, where you actually openly share and work on roles. And can you tell us more about that? Because I think this is fascinating. I think this is what agencies should be probably doing a lot more of, because we leave roles on the table and candidates on the table we can do nothing with. And I think the NPA almost have a solution to that. Not that we're here to pitch NPA,
Yeah,
but
I've been-
I love the concept.
No. I do splits with NPA members. I do splits with non-NPA members. And the philosophy
And that's
is
even more
very
interesting.
simple. You have to have the feeling that half a loaf is better than none. If you feel you're going to place every candidate you meet and fill every job order that you take, then you don't need it. But we all know that's not going to happen. So what we do is we look at having a system where we can maximize opportunities for clients and candidates. So I'll give you a great example. I've got a client in the Indigenous space in Alice Springs. I rang her up a couple of years ago just to do the how are you touching base call and asked her if she had any jobs for me. And she said, no, I don't have any jobs for you, and laughed. So my response was, why? And she goes, well, it's an IT job and you just do lawyers. And I said, what if I could fill the IT job for you? And she was like, yeah, right. So within one phone call, I called my mate, Scott. He's an IT recruiter. He called her up. Within about 2 or 3 weeks, he made a placement. So I was pretty happy because firstly, we shared the fee. Secondly, the client was happy. Thirdly, a candidate who was related to one of our parties got it. My recruiter mate was happy. And the other thing was that my client didn't feel the need to go to a big agency that could do everything for them, who then probably would want to do not just the IT role, but their legal roles. So I provided the solution for the client, and there was no losers in the whole process. It was a win-win-win.
Yeah, I was trying to count how many wins. There were quite a lot there. One hand
Quite a few,
definitely went
and no
beyond that.
losers. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. So Ed,
So
Jason
we
just
have
said something
a few.
Jason, go.
Sorry.
No, please, keep going.
I was just going to say, so the thing about the splits I do within the NPA is they're governed by rules. The organisation is a member-owned cooperative, so anyone that joins is an equal member. The leadership is elected by the membership, and it all comes down to the but-for rule. So, but for your introduction, would you have made a fee? And the better thing about it is, let's say you and I do a split and I decide for whatever reason I don't want to pay you, then you just ring up NPA and they'll sort it out. And if they can't get the money off the person, we have an indemnity fund. So you feel you have complete trust working with your partners, and partners are vetted before they're allowed to come in.
And you said earlier in that, Jason, that you've actually stepped outside of the NPA network and done splits with other agencies that aren't in the network.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've done probably maybe 2/3 within NPA, 1/3 outside. And they're just people I've met at conferences. There's a bunch of, probably about 5 or 6 of us that catch up for a curry every now and again. We don't have any formal relationship. We get on very well, and we swap job orders from time to time. And, NPA is good because it's got some of the systems. We have a WhatsApp group. So anytime somebody has a new client or candidate in Australia, there are 110 agencies that are sharing it instantly. And I made a split just 2 days ago because I have a client that needed a head of IT for a law firm. It's not really my space. One of my recruitment partners, he worked on it, sent me a candidate, and that's 180K placement. Salary,
no
not
one
Salary.
No one watching this is going to sit there and go, that wasn't worth your time.
Yeah.
Is that
You
just
said half a loaf is better than no loaf. Yeah, half a beer at the moment is better than no beer. We can, as the recruiters, we could look at it that way as well.
Yeah.
That might relate to more people.
So,
Sorry,
Ed,
Ed,
you
you
going to
got
say
a question
something?
for Jason?
Is that just clients, Jason, or is that candidates as well? Is it splits?
No, we share clients and candidates. So in this scenario, I had the clients. I also tried to recruit it myself. My candidate wanted too much money. So that was a fallback candidate sent to me by one of my partners, and he ended up getting the job. So we call them importers and exporters. So the importer has the job, the exporter has the candidate, and we work collaboratively. So I'm now on the panel for a government organisation, and they need people nationally. And, I'm not going to have people in Adelaide or whatever. So I've briefed that out to members of the network, and we've got about 9 people on interview at the moment.
Oh, sounds good.
Nice. Sounds like an easy way to make money, really, when you think about it. Everyone else does the work for you, and you get the reward, or at least half of the reward, which is better than getting none.
Yes, that's right. But you're doing half the work as well. You either run the client side or run the candidate side.
But you're not doing the whole piece. So
You're not doing the whole thing?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Love that. Ed, you said early on that you've just started over the last couple of years really getting to that collaboration and networking. I know you catch up with a few people that we're both mutually know. How do you balance the getting into collaborating and networking of give and take, of sharing information and asking everyone a bunch of questions of what you want to know, but also feel like you're giving something back, so you're not just take?
Well, that's probably a good question, actually. I think I've probably just gone in a bit selfish, to be honest, and gone, oh, how can I jump in here and get as much? Just hoping I can give something back.
I'm not sure that's a bad thing. So how do you balance that, though? What do you do to give back? Because there should be a balance. It doesn't need to be an even balance, but what do you do to make sure that you're also providing back to other people as well?
I think where it started for me, I think I tried to read a lot of business books, and they always talk about the importance of finding a mentor or mentors. Again, those people are further ahead in the process than you are. So I think at the start, I sort of went into it thinking that, well, hopefully I can give something back to that person as well, and I've got something I can share with them. But I think it was all about, are these people that are further along, do they actually get something out of being a mentor as well? Because if they've been in the industry a long time and they value what they do, are they just happy to share that information and pass that down to the next sort of line of business owners that are trying to be successful? So if I'm honest, that's the sort of the mentality I went in with, that because I wanted to find people that were way further ahead than me that could try and sort of teach me a lot. So yeah, maybe selfishly, I wasn't really thinking so much about what I can give them. It was more about, are they going to enjoy the fact they can help others and teach them? So, but then I suppose as time's gone on and I've gone into a few more groups and things like that, yeah, I try and obviously talk about, I found I've got more to share as well, because we've been going for 8 years now and we're a little bit bigger. So I have found more confident I can share some stories with them that can hopefully help them as well. And maybe because we approach recruitment a bit differently, or I'm hoping there's got to be something there that I can offer as well.
So you kind of start up as the Padawan and move up and promote yourself into the Jedi Master later on down the track kind of approach.
I must be bloody Yoda by now.
I think I've...
yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Jason.
I just meant in age, not anything else.
I do have a question for you, though, Jason, from one of the attendees, Will. He wants to know how you actually manage the splits. Is it a 50-50, 70-30, 60-40? And are you also letting your client know that you've got other agencies working on it and other candidates coming from areas that you potentially haven't touched?
Yeah, great question, Will. So within the NPA framework, we're all owners. And when I say that, I mean we all own part of NPA. So from a owner to owner, there's no rules that tell you what you should do. But in the absence of a written agreement to the contrary, it's 50-50, okay? Now, there are exceptions to the rule, but you have to agree them up front. So I have two structures myself, and I'm not saying it's gospel, it's just what I feel comfortable with. I do 80-20 and I do 50-50. So an 80-20 scenario might be, you work in telesales, is that right?
I know, we're healthcare medical, we are.
Healthcare, okay. So I go to a barbecue and there's an anaesthetist who says, I'm looking for a job. And I'm like, mate, I recruit lawyers. I can't help you. But you got to go have a chat to Ed. He's your man. So I'm really not doing much. I'm not interviewing. I'm not reference checking. I'm not coordinating interviews. So I might say, Ed, here's Jenny. She's an anaesthetist. How about we go 80-20 on that one? And I think that would be a fair reflection for what's basically a point and shoot. And other people might say to me, you know, I'm working for a hospital and they need an in-house counsel. I really don't know how to spell lawyer. I'm just going to introduce you to my client and I'll walk away and you look after it and then I'll send you an invoice at the end of the process. So I think there's transparency. My clients know I'm a member of the NPA. So for example, this placement that was done the other day, the reference check was conducted by my partner. His name is on the reference check as well. So we're not trying to hide it, but I mean, put it to this way. I'd say to my clients, hey, client Justin, I am so prepared to fill this job for you. And you really don't need to go recruiter shopping because I will, at the same time as you're speaking to me, speak to 6 or 7 other agencies in the space and get you somebody. And I'll even give half my fee away to make sure you get the best candidate on the market. They don't mind that.
And I'd imagine you're bringing some credibility to that table of those 6 or 7 other recruiters you're talking to, that you know who they are and you're recommending them, so that adds weight to it.
Yeah, and they're people who often have come from industry. So the accounting recruiter was an accountant, the engineering recruiter was an engineer, the property recruiter was in property. So they're often people who've come from the industry, and they're also owner-operators that have built up successful businesses. And because we go to conferences together, we're on WhatsApp groups, we do Zoom calls, and because we get on the piss every now and again, you build relationships and you gravitate towards people who you know, like, and trust.
Excellent. Will, I hope that answered your question. If not, let us know. Erin, whilst you are on mute there, I'll throw this question at you. What was your aha moment when you started getting into this industry and the ladies that you catch up with once a month? What was your aha moment, realizing that, oh my God, I probably should have been doing this 3 years ago, or this is so worth it? Do you remember a point in time or something that went, my God, this is worth it. This is of huge value?
Yeah, totally. It was actually the very first time we all met in person, face to face. And I was actually, would have been just 2.5, if not 3 months pregnant at the time. Business owner, large team, a lot of pressure. And I then walked into a room. So not forgetting that I've traditionally been surrounded by a lot of men in the IT sector and seen a lot of the ways that male business owners were running, and kind of was feeling quite uncomfortable and quite vulnerable being pregnant at that time. And so I walked into this room of these incredible women who had achieved a lot. And they started talking about their children. They started talking, one was actually pregnant at the time. They started talking about work-life balance, delegation, processes, systemizing business. And all of a sudden, I started to feel so much more comfortable in, oh, hey, there's people out here that are doing the exact same thing, that are going through the same process, and women who are succeeding while having a family. And you know, I'm conscious that I'm speaking to 3 men on a webinar here, but I'm sure, you know, some on the other side of it, I'm sure there's some women out here, I can't see you, but ultimately,
there are.
You know, it is a very, very different place of vulnerability. And I think it was in that moment when I went, okay, this is what I've been missing. And I have been missing a lot of this interaction, you know. And I think maybe even to the point, Ed, before you were talking about, you know, what do you give back? Ultimately, everybody in that group is coming from a different sort of background. We're not all tech recruiters, you know. In fact, I think I'm one of the only. There's another one, but they're coming at recruitment from very different angles as well. And so I think, you know, giving a lot to that group. And I always show up with this service mindset. What can I do? What can I help with? How can I help? But ultimately, they completely change my perspective on how to run. The industry and how we do things. So it was a I remember it so clearly, sitting down at that table. So that was a game changer.
We've got an imposter in the room.
Looks like we've got an imposter in the room. How? We had a big person join. What have you done, Jason?
Laurie couldn't log in, so I sent him the link you sent me, but he's now passing himself off as me, so I don't know how to change that.
I am jinxed, aren't I? This is...
That is so funny.
Laurie, maybe turn your video off.
Welcome, Laurie. Let's just bring Laurie into the conversation.
Yeah,
let's
Laurie,
just go
next
with
question for you.
Laurie, who are you? Tell us, Laurie, who are you? Tell us who you are and what you think about collaboration networking and why we should all be doing it.
Okay, so I've got a recruitment business called Talent Match Recruitment, and I sit in Bondi Junction, and I've been around the industry for 25 years in Australia, but I don't have to tell you where I'm from, you can hear. And
America?
Good old Johannesburg. And yes, I've been, prior to Talent Match, I worked with a company called McKinsey Consulting for many years. And that's where I met Jason through the NPA.
They were an NPA partner.
The NPA, yes. And what did you want to know about collaboration?
Why do you think it's so important?
I think because we don't operate as islands, and we need to talk to like-minded people and to find out, to do a reality check of what's actually happening. You know, if it's what's happening to you might not be happening to everyone else. And, you know, it's just always good to collaborate, I guess, from that perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I see this across my network of, I guess, other suppliers in the industry as well. We talk on a weekly or daily or monthly basis and just get a feel for how the market's going. We're all experiencing different things from different angles, but all dealing with the same customer base. So it's interesting to always hear different views of things and different experiences in the market. Ed, though, what was your aha moment when you stepped up to the plate and started catching up with people outside of the business to take, as you put it before? That selfish approach. But when did you realise that, geez, this is definitely the right way to be doing it?
I think running a for us, you quickly realise that how hard it is to run a business. And I think we were a bit different. Josh, my business partner, and myself, maybe our story is a bit different. So I think a lot of recruitment business owners, they've gone through that path where they've maybe been part of a big company, and they've gone up through the ranks, and they've become a team leader and a manager and things like that. And they've sort of learned a lot of how to run the business and be a manager, and then they go and set a business up. Josh and I work for a small company, and then we started E4. So we were sort of winging it a lot of the time, because as we were growing, we were just winging it. We were just trying to absorb as much info as we could. And as I say, I really just read heaps of business books. And I think running a business is really important to not have an ego, or too much of an ego. And because if you have that, you won't ever look around for help. You won't accept that there's people you can learn from. So for me, it was pretty early on that I can't really remember a moment where I suddenly went, oh, I need to go and find people. But it was more just over time I realised that, you know, there's so many people out there I can learn from. So I just really started doing that, and then just started. And a few people must think I'm a bit weird out there, because I was literally just contacting other business owners of big companies and just saying, hey, I know this is a bit of a weird introduction, but here's my story. We've got a small company. Would you be willing to share some advice? And just jumped in that way and went from there.
No, and I think that's a really important point you made, is that ego when you're setting up your business and running your business. If you let it get in the way, you're going to fail pretty quickly, because you don't know everything. And I've been running my own business, Recruiter Insider, now for the past, 4 years. And I basically look at every day and go, I don't know a thing, because every single day you start from scratch and go, I have to do something new today I haven't done before. Yeah. And who can I go to help to get me through that and understand what I should be doing? And that's how I approach almost every single day. Thankfully, that doesn't happen every day where there's something new, but it certainly invariably during the week, there's always something. So, Jason, with the NPA, do you feel that there's enough collaboration? You've got a global network, as you mentioned. There's 100 in Australia. How do you actually manage that with such a large network? Does it get diluted, or do you find that everyone jumps in and contributes?
You're on mute.
Sorry.
Yes, you're on mute, Jason. Should we get Laurie to answer the question, perhaps? Our special guest.
Now, I've got kids in the background, so I was trying to be a bit quiet in between questions. But I think it's like anything. There are people that you gravitate towards. There are ones that you get to know and you want to work with. But you know, not everyone's doing the same thing. So, for example, in IT, I might reach out to Recruiter A. Funnily enough, we have now 4 legal recruiters in Australia in the NPA, and I introduced 3 of them. And we get together every couple of weeks. We have a great sense of collegiality. We share lots of information, particularly around systems and news and that sort of thing. And I think that we all benefit from doing that.
Aaron, this question for you then, based on your network and what Jason's just said. He introduced 3 essentially competitors to the NPA network. Your group that you reside in there, I know there's a lot of a lot of like-for-like agencies that they do compete in the same space. And I think you said there's another tech agency in that group as well. Do you see that as a threat or as a bonus?
To be honest, I really feel like it's a bonus. I think one of the key things that has really struck me, particularly in this group, and I have a couple of other groups, but particularly in this group, is we're all very similar in our values that kind of underpin the way that we operate our businesses. And I think as a piece of advice for anyone looking to connect with other people is think about who you resonate with. Think about who runs their business in accordance with your values and how you, for us, it's all about raising the bar. It's all about, collectively pushing the industry forward. And I think if people are surrounded by other people that think the same way, with obviously different sort of avenues, but just generally have the same shared values, that will then push everything forward. And, if we can share jobs, if we can come at an industry with a very collective approach, hopefully we can raise the bar for everyone else. And so I think the industry is large enough for all of us. There's tons of work. We're so lucky to live in Australia where we do have a buoyant economy, and to look at those people as threats would actually be kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. I think it has to be a collective conversation and certainly a collective effort to raise the bar.
And I'm going to say, Justin, I thought the first thing when I joined NPA is I wanted to be the legal guy, and I didn't want any other legal people to be a member of the network, and I was quite possessive and territorial. And then one day I had my aha moment, which is IT recruiters aren't going to have lawyers to help me fill my legal jobs. So I had to reach out to other legal recruiters, and it's much better when they're in the tent, I've got to tell you. And there are even non-NPA related recruiters that I have good relationships with who are direct competitors. And there are times I'll just ring up and go, I'd really love a full fee on this, but I've got no one. Have you got anyone? And they've helped me fill the job, and we both make half a fee instead of none.
And then you also know that the quality is there too. You know that they're going to be representing the quality that you could then, present to your client without question, without worrying about, oh gosh, what kind of work has been happening behind the scenes here.
Yeah.
And Ed, you touched on this earlier, that cloak and dagger fear of people going to steal your clients and your candidates, and oh my God, I'm not going to coordinate or collaborate or even have a beer with your competitors. I assume you see that as a bonus rather than as a threat.
Yeah, I think I've been blown away by, as I've started to get out there and meet other owners, I've been blown away by how nice and how much people do want to collaborate. I think it's easy to get into that frame of mind that every other business owner is going to be this, scary sort of like again, the big ego type thing. They're just going to tell you to, to piss off basically. And don't get me wrong, there are a few out there that still do that, but I've been, you introduced me to Andy Mack from Design and Build, and then off the back of that, he invited me along to a group like meeting thing with some other business owners, and as soon as I walked in, just super welcoming, happy to discuss everything, just a really nice group of people. Went out to dinner, and we went around the table and just went, every business owner talked about something that was on their mind that they wanted to try and fix or improve in the business, and then everyone else weighed into the conversation. And just really blown away by how many business owners out there want to help each other. So I think that's a really good thing.
I totally agree. You could spend the next 6 months looking at applicant tracking systems and trying them out, everything, or you can ring up half a dozen people and they'd say, look, I use JobAdder, really happy, save yourself the time, whatever it may be. A lot of those systems and things that don't cost anything, but just save everyone from reinventing the wheel.
Audrey's happy you just mentioned JobAdder, I can imagine there, Jason. Erin, do you think it's the same for consultants though? Audrey just commented too, I think, as well. Do you think it's the same as consultants? We're all business owners and we can talk at different levels. Do you think consultants see it as the same though? Because they're the ones competing on that job for job daily basis with the relationships with the clients. Do you think it changes if you're a consultant or a business owner?
Look, you know what? I think consultants have a whole different sort of suite of stresses and concerns and worries, of course, as well. And I think to know that they aren't alone in that, it's an incredibly pressurized environment and job. And I think if they can speak with other consultants who, you know, might be in a completely different environment. They can offer different perspectives. They might do things differently. They can offer different processes and systems and ways of approaching things. So, you know, I'm a huge advocate for diversity of thought. And I think within an organization, you can kind of get a little bit stagnated a little, you know, just in the processes and the systems. So going outside of that, I'm all for it. I think it's a really good way. Sometimes as well, it does work to also understand how good you might have it in your current organization as well, to realize, oh, wow, okay, I didn't even realize we were doing.
The grass isn't greener on the other side.
That's right. So sometimes, you know, and I think that's where owners sometimes get threatened and they're like, oh, don't speak to anyone else, don't tell them our secrets. But you know what, if you've got good client relationships and you've got good, strong sort of contracts with them, even like they're not going to go anywhere anyway. You should be confident in knowing your clients want to be with you and want to partner with you. So I'm all for it.
Ed, how do you get your team to actually take that on board as you do it, to get out there and collaborate and network? Do you encourage them? Do you have anything in place that helps them get out there and actually facilitate themselves to collaborate and network with others in the industry, competitors or not?
Yeah, it's interesting because as you were talking about that last point, I was thinking about, you know what, I probably don't do enough to get the guys here to collaborate. I've probably thought about it more on that sort of management or owner level in terms of collaborating, but I certainly haven't. Again, with the cloak, you know, I've always encouraged people here to like be happy to talk to other recruiters, and you know, we get a lot of recruiters that try and headhunt our staff and things like that. And I'm not someone that sort of says, oh, you know, mate, don't ignore them, delete them, don't talk to them. I always said, like, be polite and explain the situation. So going back to sort of Erin's point, I think you have to have a level of confidence to collaborate with us. If you're insecure, then that's going to stop you from collaborating because you are going to be worried about what's going to be taken away from you. But do you know what? Yeah, on that point, on your question, I do need to improve getting the team here to collaborate more with other recruiters in the industry. And that's something I want to look into, definitely.
Yeah. Martin, who's watching this, thanks for your question or statement here, Martin. Erin, this is at you. On your site, he's actually had a bit of a look around while you've been talking there and has found something that I actually hadn't realised was on your site also. You have an alumni section under Meet the Team.
Yes, we do.
That's incredible. People who have left the business... You're keeping the known people who have left the business up on your website. What's the thinking and thought behind that?
Do you know what? And I know it's a bit unique, and I know we've had a couple of people call it out before, going, "Well, that's a bit weird. It's a bit different." But we do that because it's different. Yeah, look, we're different. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But ultimately, we've done it because ultimately we know we're an iterating cycle of a business. We have a story. We have a background. We really, really value the people who have played a part in that whole journey. And everyone who's left our business has made a mark and has had client relationships, has had candidate relationships. And so we had the alumni section as primarily a way to acknowledge that and to thank them for that. We still keep in touch with a lot of them. A lot of them have moved on to different industries. Some of them have stayed in recruitment. And I think we talk about the time they spend with us as a journey and sort of like a tour of duty. You know, you're not expected to be at a recruitment company for the rest of your life. And we don't really want to instill that. You know, we want to educate and empower and develop our people so that they can go on to bigger and better things, even if it isn't with us. And if we don't have the opportunities for them, we welcome them to do what they need to do in their lives to thrive and succeed. And so that's where that alumni has come from. And, you know, it's with approval from all the people that are on there. And we've obviously, if you go on there, you'll have a look at what they're doing now. Some are police women, some are digital technology salespeople, you know, and it's cool to just get a feel for where people have gone from the recruitment industry as well.
That's fascinating. I never knew that was on your website. I think that's brilliant.
That's
so
good
a question to you all. No, yeah, well done, Martin. A question to you all, and Jason, I'll start with you. Do you think there's what do you think is the greatest misconception around networking that you realised after getting into it and working with the MPA and other agencies that just wasn't true?
It's a good one, Justin. I think
I can see all your minds ticking over thinking about your answers
yeah,
too. So
there's a few. I'm trying to work out Yeah, what's the best one? Look, I think the people are a lot more like you than you think. And they're facing very similar issues to what you're facing as well. And we've probably got more in common than we don't. So there's one person in the NPA who I would probably speak to daily, and I talk to her about my business issues. When we go to conferences, we spend a lot of time together. We've travelled overseas together. And I think we're each other's mentor in a way. We bounce ideas back off each other. And I love my wife ridiculously. We've been together 20 plus years. But my wife works in disability services and is a dog trainer. And I know nothing about those industries. And we don't talk, I can't talk recruitment with her. So I fill that gap by talking recruitment with people that I know, like, and trust from the industry. So that to me scratches an itch that I really need to brainstorm, because there are some things you can talk about with your team, but there are a lot of things that you can't, and you really probably need somebody who's a business owner and who's been in recruitment as well.
Ed, misconception going into this beforehand that you found out not to be true?
Yeah, I think for me it'd be a similar point to Jason. Yeah, I think we've obviously covered like a lot of the things that are, around that. Just basically, business owners are generally nice people, and what Jason talked about, I think it's very easy, especially as a smaller business or a younger business, when you are talking to people that have got these amazingly successful businesses, you sort of assume that they've done everything perfectly and they've absolutely killed it every stage through the process, and they've done nothing.
And they know exactly what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they know exactly what they're doing, and like Jay said, you talk to people and they've just got exactly the same problems, exactly the same issues. They've been through everything exactly the same, and it just gives you a little bit of a boost so you know you're actually doing things right, and you are going through the common problems. I just think it does give you a bit more confidence. So and as you said earlier, I think just don't be scared to reach out to people. Lose that ego. Joe, be really aware that you 100% you will talk to people. You will find out stuff that really helps you as a person, as a business owner, and just embrace it and just do it. Like get rid of that fear of reaching out, and just, as I say, I just threw out some requests, and there wasn't many people who said, no, I'm not interested. Most people said, yeah, sweet, let's catch up, let's meet up, let's have a chat. So that was great.
Aaron, anything you found out that you thought that this might be real but turned out not to be so?
Yeah, look, I think one of the main reasons that I didn't go out to sort of the broader community beforehand was because I just felt like, we're still growing, we're still developing, we're still, in iteration cycles, and I just feel like I don't really have a lot to offer. And I feel, maybe if I am out there, people will, let's say if I'm being authentic, they'll go, oh, well, what are you even doing with your business? And there'll be that judgment, or there will be that competition, or things that, again, they're all perceived. We're all, just as Ed said, in the exact same boat with the same struggles, the same insecurities. We're all human. And I think the acknowledgement of that, and certainly putting people on pedestals, same as what Ed said. You look at people who've been in the industry and you look at them and go, wow, they've done it all. Look at them go. I don't have nearly as much to offer. What could I possibly be doing in that same room? When actually, when you get to know them, they're like, I'm a hot mess. What are you even talking about? And you start to understand that actually we are all in the same situation. And, you learn from that. And often you can provide different perspectives and give back in a different way too. So I really think it's about shelving those insecurities and realizing, like, if you show up authentically, people will immediately turn their authentic meter on and go, actually, you know what, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's under the surface. And that opens up conversation, and that can be really, really powerful for future certain relationships, of course, but definitely for, implementable things that you can go, actually, you know what, now that I've told you my deep, dark secret, I now know how to solve it, because you've gone through those things. And it's not so deep, dark. Everybody's in the same situation.
So
I
you
think
probably
Groucho Marx
answered
said
my...
that.
Go, mate. Groucho Marx, I want to hear that.
I think it's a Groucho Marx quote that was, the key to life is authenticity. If you can fake that, you've got it made.
Perfect. We should strive to do that every day. So, Aaron, you probably answered you probably answered the last question before I turn to the attendees, everyone watching, is to see if they had any final questions. But what would be your one bit of advice to anyone thinking about or being shy or cautious or not wanting to jump in and network with people out there and go to Ryan's Bar and have a beer and share some insights or some thoughts or some, here's what I'm doing this week or I've got this challenge? What would be your one key piece of advice?
You know what? I think it's it sounds horrible, but it's nearly like a bit of a taste tester. Go to industry events. You don't need to jump in face to face with people right away. You don't have to go, oh, look, there's these people that I'd love to connect with, and go feverishly on LinkedIn and start sending out all your messages. Just go to industry events and get to know who's who and get to have discussions with. Often they're, alcohol there, so that sometimes helps. Hop on a webinar, hop on a Zoom. Obviously, we're moving into sort of next phase of COVID, and I'm sure we'll start to do more face-to-face. So do those ones first, and then figure out who you align with and resonate with, and then do the reach out. There's no point in kind of going full guns blazing and then realizing, oh, crap, I'm not actually in the right zone here. I'm not speaking with the people that I should be. And I think that's really how I've landed in the groups that I am. And yeah, start very broad. Go taste test the industry. Figure it out.
Ed, your one bit of advice for anyone?
Well, there you go, from collaborating in this meeting. Something from Erin there, because I've definitely done that approach of I know nothing about the person. I've just seen them on social media or heard about their large company. And I jumped in 2 feet without thinking about it. But Erin's completely right. Get yourself to some industry events, get to know people. Yeah, find out the ones that you probably resonate with a bit more. So there you go. I've learned something from today that I should probably do a bit differently. a bit too gung-ho.
Yeah, I don't worry. I'd be exactly the same. I don't know any other way. Jason, one bit of advice before someone's thinking about or is holding back, not wanting to network and collaborate with others in the industry.
I love learning, so I'll go to the opening of an envelope. I don't use Bullhorn. I went to the Bullhorn Engage. So go to industry events, go to the RCSA drinks and that sort of thing. I think it's good fun. I personally like NPA because I know before I go in that everyone has the same philosophy that they want to collaborate. So it's kind of not even a topic for discussion, and the new people are welcomed in with open arms. And I remember I joined on a Tuesday. The first conference was a Thursday that week, and it was like I walked in as like I've found my people, and I've never looked back.
So do you do a lot of meetups, Jason, in person at NPA?
Yeah. So NPA in Australia, we have pre-COVID, we had a once a month catch up, and sometimes that's just a social. So, often a vendor might put some money behind a bar and we just go and get on the beers. The other times we have speakers. So that's once a month. And then twice a year we have conferences. So last week we were meant to be in Brisbane, and we usually have one day where the owners just get together and one day where owners and consultants get together. And we usually have a big gala ball or dress up night so the consultants get to know each other pretty well. And then usually around October, November, just the owners go away for a day and a half retreat. And we usually alternate between Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. And I come away pumped from those. I have so many good ideas. I just can't wait to get back at my desk on a Monday morning and try out new stuff. And it could be a tool someone's used or an idea someone's developed, and just stuff that, you don't know what you don't know till you hear it from your peers.
And that's the other thing with the collaboration, isn't it? I think that energy you get from it, because it's so easy to get bogged down and doing your same thing over and over again, getting disheartened.
And just looking at your participant list, I mean, if you don't mind, if you're there, just pop in it, whether you're an NPA member or you're from my Curry group or whatever. But most of the names on this list are pretty familiar from people that I'm networking with.
Jason's Curry group. We need to look that up.
Well, I'll tell you what happened.
Sorry, tell us about
I
the
keep
Curry group.
talking over you. So I went to that recruitment yarns. So recruitment yarns that Cole Levander organises, and I sat next to a guy who, believe it or not, was an English recruiter, a guy named Mark. We just started chatting. Before you know it, he said he has a bunch of mates that catch up in a boardroom of his building and invited me along. We started to chat. I got to know these guys. I've done splits probably with most of them. And every now and again, we catch up for either beers or a boardroom chat, or we go for a curry at Long Chim. And great bunch of guys.
we have someone here who wants to throw their hat in the ring. So, hey, we had Laurie as a special guest. Let's add one more to the mix. Roxanne, speak away.
No, I'm just, I didn't know that I'd pressed the wrong button, but I just wanted to say that
Hello,
I'm
caller. Thanks for listening.
an MPA member, and I have found it absolutely incredibly fantastic for my business. As Jason said, we all sort of share a lot, learn a lot from each other, cry on each other's shoulders or have a few drinks. Apart from that, financially it has been very successful, and I'm sort of working with my MPA partners overseas at the moment in this downtime here in Australia. So overall, it's been really successful. I don't know whether you can see me or not. I can only see the four of you. So anyway.
And Roxy and I have been lucky enough to travel. Where have we been together? We've been to Savannah, Georgia. We've been to Long Beach. Yeah, Beijing. We've travelled all around the world.
So
no, Jason, I think you made a really...
Okay.
Jason, I think you made a really good point before about finding your people. That to me just resonated completely. And as Erin put it, don't throw yourself in unless you're like me, who doesn't know any other way. A million miles an hour bullet a gate. Go to those events and talk to 20 people for 2 minutes. You don't know who you're going to meet.
So, for example, Roxy and I have known each other a long time. We've never made a split, but I remember when she was looking to hire someone, she just wanted to pick somebody's brains, and there are times I'd ring her up and just say, oh, look, I just need a second pair of ears. Would you mind me picking your brains? And there's no money changes hands, but, you know, when we see each other, we give each other a hug and we're mates. And that would be the same with a lot of these guys on this call. In fact, Brett, who's there, he and I catch up with another group who are not necessarily NPA members, and we catch up for what we call a think tank every now and again. And that's people all around Australia that we align to, and we've got similar interests and we get on. Doesn't hurt to learn from other people ever.
No, not at all. And I think that's one of the big key takeaways as well. It'll develop your learning at the same time. You don't know everything. No one knows everything. If you can learn, and I take the 80-20 approach with this, if I'm talking to someone and I like 20% of what they say, I'll take that away from me, because that's really all you need at the end of the day. You don't have to go down the path of what someone says is gospel. You're trying to get something, that little gold nugget, that one line, that one thought, that one idea that they have, and then go put that into your own business and your own process. So unless there's any final questions from our attendees, I'll just hold on a second to see if anyone's got anything else to throw at the panel. I wanted to thank Jason, Ed, Erin, and our special guest, Laurie, for coming on today and talking about collaboration and networking and its importance and how much it can actually help you, not only as a business owner, but as a recruiter. Get out there, do it. Don't be afraid. Ryan's Bar's open if you want to go have a beer and talk to half the community there is probably recruiters. Get to networking events, industry events. We're all pretty friendly. So you can approach anyone and just say hello and shake your hand and what do you do? Great. What are you working on at the moment? Blah, blah, blah. Don't be afraid. So it looks like no other questions. Looks like we've answered everything. We've solved collaboration and networking. Well done.
Go on.
And then just as I say that, someone jumps in and says, oh, no, it's only thanks, guys. So thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you to the panel, and catch you on the next webinar.
Yeah,
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Take care,
everyone.
guys. Bye.